to embrace fully the world's greatest game. And for so long of trying to have the game accepted. And when I'm up to the big football field in the sky, I just want people just to remember I told you so.
And suddenly the complexion of the game changes. Let's hope it doesn't, but this is the best period for Iran in the match.
Ali Dai, danger for Australia here, the flag's down! It's an equaliser!
You just feel for them, not just the boys, they are representative of so many people who make this game their life. It's just, I can't say anything, mate.
All right.
Especially as they have the impetus. Aloisi, Cahill, Cahill! Tim Cahill has done it again! What a goal by Tim Cahill! 2-1 Australia! Oh, it's a wonderful moment in Kaiserslautern! And Tim Cahill has come off the bench and maybe won the match for the Socceroos.
You're listening to FNR, Football Nation Radio.
Looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website dkpco.com.au or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Marcelo, the three to pick out. It's the spectacular. It's Gareth Bale. Wonderful goal. Sensational from Gareth Bale.
You're listening to FNR, Football Nation Radio.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website dkpco.com.au or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
And welcome to the NPL Victoria Pod here on FNR Football Nation Radio. Nick Tabano, Lachie Flannigan here with some
unbelievable,
very good music.
This guy has one run on ESPN and he's already going for the first take style song.
Well,
I left it in his hands. Hey. He was like, what music do we want to use? I'm like, it's in your hands, mate. This is what he's got.
Do you know what playlist I found this on? Like, take a guess.
I don't want to know. I can see it on the screen. I don't want to answer this question.
It was called Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, beautiful.
So we're
great start to an NPL Victoria podcast.
Well, we had to find
traditionally a footballing league.
Yes.
Real football.
Yes. But we just need to get fired up here. We need to get excited. There's a lot of exciting things happening today. It's our first ever episode here on FNR Football Nation Radio.
They always say that the best time to start is 18 rounds into the Premier Men's competition. No better time to start than
Well,
that.
the call went out. They said we need some more NPL Victoria content out there. And it's
true.
You know, you can't have enough podcasts in the realm of NPL Victoria. And today, Lachie, we can't kick this off in an even bigger fashion than what we've got set up right now. In about 5 minutes' time, we'll be joined by Oakley Cannons striker and Golden Boot leading forward Wade Dekker, who is going to join us fresh off scoring a hat-trick on the weekend, Lachie, against Altona Magic. He was unbelievable, and he has been all season. So looking forward to chatting to Wade in a few minutes' time. We'll also be getting a few special guests in throughout the evening to sprinkle in their thoughts of the weekend. We had some of good friends of the show, Lachie, including our producer, Oscar, who is out there right now. Actually, no, we'll say g'day to Oscar. He's actually mic'd up outside. Oscar, can you hear me, mate? Can you hear me? Give us a little bit. You got your mic out there?
I can hear you.
There we go. Welcome to the show, Oscar. Great to have you on.
Thank you. I appreciate that. How are you, Nick?
I am feeling fantastic, mate. Fantastic that we're all here today. We're all ready to go for a new show. Obviously, you've seen quite a bit throughout the weekend, and we'll be getting to you a little bit later on because you've been keeping your eye on a certain academy team as well, and we've had some questions come through about him as well. So, Oscar, we'll come back to you a little bit later on in the show, and we'll delve into that in probably about half an hour or 40 minutes' time.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I mean, Oscar has been keeping his ears to the ground where the NPL 3 is concerned. So too, Josh Parish, who will join us later, not only to talk about the NPL 3, but about our match of the round. And that's our commitment. We're always going to try and get someone who is involved with the match of the round to come and speak to us. And this week, it was absolutely Heidelberg United up against the Melbourne Knights. The Burgers running out 3-2 winners, but we'll leave that game for now. We'll save the best till last. Yeah. Nick, it was a big weekend of fixtures that we've got to run through. Shall we start in chronological order before we get to Wade and Josh later?
We shall. We'll go a bit of a speed round, I reckon. We haven't timed we've got our timings a little bit wrong, just getting things all set up. So we're going to go
what do you expect? We started this 18 rounds into the NPL men's season.
But also, we'll go a little bit later. We'll go beyond the 7 o'clock, and we'll make sure that we can get into everything properly. But Lachie, let's start off chronologically, shall we?
Yeah.
Let's start off on Friday night.
It all kicked off Friday night, 8 p.m. Green Gully 1, Avondale 1.
Now, you were there.
I was there alongside Katie Lambeski, and I can tell you honestly, this was one of... Obviously, you always have big expectations with a 4th v 5th fixture.
Yes.
Right? Anytime two teams are not only in the final spots, but alongside one another on the table, your expectations are always high. This game was genuinely one of the best games that I have watched all season. It was a bit of profligacy on the count of both sides, short of being a 4-all thriller that dominated the conversation all week. Because it was two teams, Stephen Downs' Green Gully and Zoran Markowski's Avondale, who played in a really... They're known for playing a sort of a positive possession brand of football. And what happened was they didn't shy away from that at all. You know, either team could have been forgiven for going, we'll play it a little bit more conservatively because this team likes to play the same way as us. Let's try and, suffocate them. But nope, this was high octane, frenetic, high pressing from both sides, 90 minutes of football. And I think Green Gully were actually the better side on the day. They were absolutely blitzing Avondale inside the opening theme. Avondale could barely get the ball out of their own defensive half for the first 15. Gully had a goal inside the opening 2 minutes ruled out for offside. Eventually they did through Luke Jego, a very, very nice finish into the top right corner in transition, which was a deserved lead for them. And then I think right after that, on the other side of things, Yusuf Ahmed hit the post, and I think Stefan Zini missed an open goal from the same play. And then Alex Salmon had a penalty. He missed the penalty, which is something you almost never see out. And look, he will live, I think, to rue this one for a very, very long time, because obviously he doesn't score that penalty. Could have made it 2-0 right before the break. And then after a much more even second half, Avondale really turned things around. They made a triple substitution with Kalalu Kamara, Joey Katabian and Stefan Valentini all coming off the bench in one swoop to really, really balance things out. And eventually, after getting a few chances on goals, Manny Agwek scoring in the 90th minute to save a point. But it was just unironically, wow, what a game.
Well, it was. And I mean, for Avondale It's not been an ideal season for them on two fronts, Lachie. We know that we're not only playing for one trophy, we're actually playing for two. And they've let slip at least being in command of the 2021 championship that they fought so hard to, get the chance of competing for this season or be rewarded as being the premiers. But unfortunately for them, this season as well, it hasn't gone to script. I mean, they're fifth. They're still in finals contention, but they're 12 points behind South Melbourne and 8 points behind Oakley. So they're right off the pace and looking like they're going to be competing at least for an elimination final this year. They're going to announce the new signing, though. So we did promise that we are going to wait until after 7 p.m. and we're going to find out exactly who this new signing is.
Well, I noticed, look, let's see what happens at full time, but I noticed in the little graphic they used that the G was, there was a little tiny hollowed out G behind it. And so I'm wondering if GG are maybe the initials. I'm thinking, look, I could look like an idiot by the time we get to 7 p.m. GG. How many players do you know with the initials GG?
There's not many. There's only
Georgios Giacomakis, who plays for Celtic. We can probably draw a line through him.
He used to play for Melbourne Victoria.
Avondale, Italian club, probably need a defender. They've had none of their defenders up till Friday night had played more than 13 games of a possible 18 this season. So they've been really, really injury hit, and that's part of the reason their downturn has been the way it has this year. But an Italian, defender with Italian roots, former A-League experience, Giancarlo Gallifuoco.
Yeah,
perhaps
potentially.
I could look in 45 minutes time. I could look like a fool, but that's just something a little prediction I'm gonna throw out into the wind. But yeah, the 2021 title is also well and truly under threat because there's one game left to go. Oakley are on top. One game left to go for both of these sides. Oakley have got to play South Melbourne at Lakeside. That's their final 2021 catch-up game, while Avondale play Port Melbourne. So two tough games for those two sides to close out. But Oakley currently 2 points ahead with one 2021 game left to play.
It's going to be interesting when it comes down to it in a few weeks' time. So I think Oakley play first from memory. I think they play South Melbourne in a couple of weeks. And then Avondale play Port Melbourne about a week after that. Lachie, we're still waiting for Wade Dekker, so we'll continue with the review of the round for the time being. St Albans and Bentley 0-0 under lights.
Yeah.
At Churchill Reserve. So we haven't seen under lights before in St Albans, but it's a nice little change.
It looked pretty good, to be honest with you.
I enjoyed it.
I did. I checked it at halftime because I thought, you always wonder how a pitch is going to look under lights. You just always had that curiosity. It's like, I wonder
what would Gardner's Creek Reserve look like under lights?
Exactly. These are the kind of things that pique my interest. And to be honest, it looked pretty good. Unfortunately, on the scoreboard, the game didn't quite deliver the Friday night under lights spectacle that many would have been hoping for out at Fox Street. But that's a good result in the end for St Albans to take a point off the Bentley Greens. I'm not surprised that it happened because we know how sort of compact of a team St Albans are, and sometimes, when you're a possession-based side, we've seen Avondale actually have struggles with St Albans earlier this season for similar reasons. When you do come up against those compact sides who make themselves hard to break down, it's not always easy to get the cut through, and I think this showed for Bentley this time around, and unfortunately for them, they drop out of the top 6 as a result. And obviously, it's still neck and neck between them and Burgers for that final spot in the top 6. By the end of the year, it might end up being someone else. But it would really be crazy to think about it, to have the reigning champions
from 2019.
To have the reigning champions of the NPL Victoria miss out on the finals.
Well, it's funny because I made the joke last year that when Bentley, when the season got cancelled, that Bentley winning, still being champions is like, everyone used to watch wrestling as a kid, or still watch wrestling. I don't know if some people still watch wrestling.
I do not.
But,
go for it, Nick. Fill your boots.
Like in wrestling, when it's a title match, the champion has to be pinned, and they can technically lose the match by disqualification, but the title doesn't change hands. So they'll get hit by like a steel chair because the other person get really frustrated, hit him with a steel chair, or like, they'll lose. No, sorry, Bentley lose by disqualification, but they're still champions. Well, they don't get pinned and they're still champions, but they technically lost the match. They're technically champions all the way through until now. That's the analogy I thought. So it's like, you know how it was always like, and the winner of this match is such and such. Well, but still.
On that subject, actually, I do know exactly what you're talking about. On that subject, I realized this week we've played as many games this season as we played in 2021. So we've officially reached it. This weekend, we will clear the bar for the amount of games played. And I mean, having looked back at this season, it would have almost been enough to declare a
champion,
to declare a winner. So maybe Bentley Green's a bit lucky to stay on that.
As
but I said, it's a battle between them and Heidelberg for that final spot. I mean, Avondale are only on 31 points. Green Gully are only on 32. There's 4 points separating fourth all the way down to seventh, and then a buffer of 5 points between Bentley and Altona. So the Greens they're out of the 6-4 now, but they're not completely out of it. There's no guarantee. I think the final six will probably stay as it is now. Of course, there is still...
Lachie, we haven't got into predictions yet.
There is still mid-season transfer windows to go, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it stay as it does, but maybe with Heidelberg even pushing up the table because they're in red-hot form at the moment.
Bentley announced the signing today of Christopher Drustis from Eastern Lions.
Will Costa follow there? That's the question.
Well, they're a package deal. Costa hasn't seen the pitch at all this season for Eastern Lions. He's been injured. The two of them have had rotten luck with injury.
Yes.
But Chris Drustis returning to Bentley, where he started his career and obviously rose to prominence at Eastern Lions in their promotion push and has been one of their better players when he's been on the pitch. But it's been a question of actually staying on the pitch. For him, it's not been a matter of what he can do when he's on it.
Well, Nick, on the subject of the Drutsis twins, shall we move over to Gardeners Creek? Because you were there for a relegation six-pointer, probably the most important fixture for both of these sides, particularly for the Eastern Lions. This was pretty much do or die for them. And unfortunately, Eastern Lions 0, Dandenong City 2. It looks like they might be dead.
Yeah, it would take an absolute miracle. And that's even putting it lightly. What's beyond a miracle? Is there anything beyond the miracle out there in the whole wide world? I don't even think so. I think the miracle is the first you can go. It would take a miracle on top of a miracle. It would take basically Andrea Lombardo walking across water and then him, feeding, taking 2 fish and 5 loaves and feeding 1,000 people.
Goodness me.
For them to stay up this season. It has been a rotten year for them and their form has just not been anywhere near it. 15 games now without a win. Their last win coming all the way back, I think now we'll be back in round 3. And they started the season relatively okay. Like they looked all right against Oakley in those early games. They got that win. But my God, they've been disappointing, especially at home.
Well, what about in this game, Nick? Did they put up much of a fight against Dandy City?
This is the interesting part. So looking at this game, there were moments when you thought Eastern Lions were actually on top. In the first half, they actually looked all right. Like there were some moments when you thought, okay, they're pushing, but their final ball is lacking. But there were some very, very questionable decisions on the team sheet from Andrea Lombardo. Not starting Ryan Losty, who is their top goal scorer this year and is easily their best player. Charlie Fry on the bench as well, which again, what are you doing there? Like we know they've gone for the kids this year. They've kind of accepted where they are. And they've gone for the more youthful approach. Yeah, well, but this was a game that they could win. This is a game they had a really good opportunity to win this game. Their final ball lacks so much. And Marcus Demanch, if he's not doing it when Ryan Losty's not there, then forget about it. The others aren't going to be able to pick up the slack. Ioannis Georgopoulos worked his tail off, but he couldn't get the ball into good areas. And with Steven Topalovic back for Dandy City, who was just marshalling everything and just not allowing... He was
brilliant the week before.
He was sensational and easily, in my opinion, man of the match. But we're burying the lead. The goal that gave Dandy City the lead was absolutely incredible because when Dandy City broke, they always looked threatening because we've seen Eastern Lions defence is leaking goals like a sieve at the moment. So we saw, the ball come out in the clearance, great ball into the area from Marco Dalic and Cooper Legrand. What a finish it was. It wasn't really a bicycle or a scissor. He just kind of threw his foot at it and it went over his back shoulder and in. And from there, Dandy City always looked like that they were going to at least win the game. As much as there was like a 5 to 10 minute push where Eastern Lions looked like they were starting to build their way into the game, it never really felt like they were going to score. And that was concerning for me. Even when they made a triple change, they brought on Ryan Losty, they brought on the young fella Alessandro, Jeez, his name's forgetting me.
Dalmiglio,
Something Dalmiglio who got injured after
You're
only a matter of
Italian, Nick. You
minutes.
can't forget things like that.
I was about to call him.
Most people don't know how to pronounce it. You've got to be there.
I was about to call him Migliorini for a second, but I realised it's Dalmiglio. Look, it's late, but my brain's fried. And they also brought on the youngster Mullins as well, and they went for the game, and they started to ask a few questions of the Dandy City defence, but they weren't able to open them up. And you could see the frustration building and building. They were winning a lot of set pieces. They were, Adam LePage, I think, maybe had about 8 or 9 free kicks. It was unbelievable the amount of chances they were getting from dead balls, but they weren't able to do anything with it. And then the goal they conceded, well, from our position, if you've commentated at Gardners Creek Reserve or you've been to Gardners Creek Reserve, if you're not on the grandstand side and you're on the scoreboard side, it is very hard to see when the sun's setting what's happening on the far side because the sun is right directly in your eyesight and you cannot see a thing. So the ball apparently went out before the cross came into Delano Ferro for the winner.
Really?
Kostas Stratomitros lost it. And when I mean lost it, when I mean he lost it, he blew a gasket. He had enough. The frustration just boiled over. The Dandy City players, they were giving it they were sort of riling up Stratomitros. The frustration was boiling over. Gets a yellow card for shoving one of the Dandy City players when they were celebrating. I don't know, I forgot which player it was, but he shoved him in the commotion, then was mouthing off at the referee. Now, mind you, the Eastern Lions players were at the referee all game. The referee made some questionable decisions, but there was nothing really. There was one moment where Charlie Fryer copped a whack in the face. There was nothing really in terms of like a missed penalty or anything. But with that one, with the linesman not seeing the ball was potentially out, it did cost them a goal. Stratomitros went over to the referee. He was yelling. Referee had enough, gave him a second yellow in a matter of seconds. Yeah. And off he was.
Well, because I saw this. I wasn't able to watch the Saturday afternoon games, but I was watching it back on Sports TG. And I was like, yellow card 69th minute, red card 70th minute. Like, what has happened to you? But yeah, just crazy. Like, often you see the referee sort of exercise a bit of discretion after they've booked someone for dissent initially. They're like, okay, you can have a few seconds of mouthing off and I'll let you sort of get it out of your system, but you've got the card there.
Yeah.
But no. Not this time. Second yellow.
Yeah, he was just gone. And then after that, the life was kind of sucked out of the Eastern Lions. And Lachie, I was amazed having a look at this stat, but they haven't got a single point at home this season. Single point. They have lost each of their last 10 games at home, a run that goes back to June last year. It's looking likely it's going to peak up.
Sad, isn't it?
It is really sad because they have played more players than any other team this season. They've looked towards the youth. They've given a lot of kids opportunities. Based off what I've been told by the club, they are going to announce a few signings in this transfer period. There were a couple that have to remain unnamed that were doing run-throughs and warm-ups with the players before the game. There were some that were there. But again, that has to stay under wraps for now. But they will announce them in the coming days. They're hoping they'll be playing this weekend. But looking at their run, their form, they haven't won in 15. They're 7 points inside now. Andrea Lombardo's not been able to get the team back on side after, obviously taking over from Kosti Pushkashu.
I can tell you're getting ready to...
And I think that the writing's on the wall, Lachie. I think that they're getting ever closer towards the drop, and it's a matter to see who joins them. Because Dandy City, on the other hand, Lachie, well, we're not talking enough about them. I mean, by making the bold decision of not starting Gavin Denise and going with a different look in midfield, they looked really good. Like, defensively, they looked better with Steven Topalovic in the team. It's certainly going to help them out in terms of getting important points. Going forward, they looked threatening. They had a couple really good chances. Marko Dalic probably should have made it 3. John McShane got himself in a couple of decent areas. We know he hasn't had a great season. But there's enough quality in that front line that really can cause damage between Dalic, Ferro, Legrand. There's a lot of exciting players.
Legrand's an interesting one. He's a mercurial talent
for
me. Like, his ceiling, even back from his sort of Kingston days when they were, relegated in the NPL, like, his ceiling is very high. Like, he's got the ability at not just technically, but sort of the the football brain, to be a super player, but it's about that sort of A, staying healthy and B, getting consistent output.
Yeah,
but his best is, as we saw on the weekend with that goal, really good.
Yeah, and also, shout out to Brady Quinn, who I thought was very good in attacking midfield as well. Has been a very handy pickup for them.
Has been.
They're looking all right under Luban Palanic, who has taken over on an interim basis since Miki Chulina left the club. He's got the team playing
Is it enough,
decent
though?
football.
Is it enough?
I still worry because it is it's now really a 2-horse race to stay up. It's really between them and Hume City. And look, they beat Hume a few weeks ago. You called that game. Obviously, the big thing for them that Dandy City have is they have a lot of players with a lot of individual quality. Nick Kalmar, as we mentioned Legron, we mentioned Farrow, we mentioned Brady Quinn. They've got match winners, and that's key in these sort of games. That's what they had Eastern Lions Inn have. Eastern Lions Inn have a player who could pick the game up with the scruff of the neck and get them over the line. And we've seen a lot of games this season. We've seen some good signs in some games, especially early in the season against Oakley, the reverse fixture against Oakley. They've shown some signs that they can cause some problems. But the issue is that once they concede, the heads drop, they get frustrated, and the quality just isn't there. So, unfortunately for them, it's looking like they're going to probably be going down. While
the other thing to consider, though, about Dandy City is what did they do in 2019 when they were in the same position?
Well, they stayed up.
They stayed up, but do you remember how they did it?
Yeah, they made some very, very handy
signed
signings.
Adrian Leia, Carl Valeri, and Brendan Santalab.
Yeah.
They have form for the big name sort of relegation saving signing. I know the window is a lot later this time around. Could they do it?
Potentially.
Is it something they could consider?
Potentially. Lachie, what we're going to do is we're going to leave that for just a second. We apologise. We haven't been able to get Wade on just yet. We're still working on, hopefully he'll be able to come on at some stage. In the meantime, though, Lachie, we'll take a quick break. What we'll do is we'll come back on the other side of it. We'll go through the rest of NPL 1 and we'll start to take our eye towards some of the lower tiers, NPL 2, NPL 3. We might even get our good friend Josh Parish on the line very, very soon to talk about the game of the round. So don't go anywhere here on the NPL Victoria Pod on FNR Football Nation Radio. We'll be back in just a second.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website, dkpco.com.au, or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Maloney takes, and it's in! It's Ben Watson! It's Ben Watson for Wigan Athletic! They've surely won the FA Cup! For Dave Whelan, for Roberto Martinez! You just cannot write scripts like this!
Since 1998, Lanco Group has been providing superior civil engineering solutions and advice to developers, local government and service authorities across Australia. Lanco Group is known for delivering sustainable, efficient solutions. By working closely with clients, Lanco Group is able to meet the complex infrastructure requirements for residential, commercial and industrial developments on time, on budget. Find out more at lancogroup.com.au. Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions.
Ronaldinho gathers speed past Ramos. Elguera comes to meet him. He goes past Elguera. Ronaldinho at his very best. Unstoppable.
You're listening to FNR, Football Nation Radio.
Since 1998, Lanco Group has been providing superior civil engineering solutions and advice to developers, local government and service authorities across Australia. Lanco Group is known for delivering sustainable, efficient solutions. By working closely with clients, Lanco Group is able to meet the complex infrastructure requirements for residential, commercial and industrial developments on time, on budget. Find out more at lancogroup.com.au. Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions.
Marcelo, the three to pick out. It's the spectacular. It's Gareth Bale. Wonderful goal. Sensational from Gareth Bale.
You're listening to FNR, Football Nation Radio.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website dkpco.com.au or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Maloney takes. And it's in! It's Ben Watson! It's Ben Watson for Wigan Athletic! They've surely won the FA Cup! For Dave Whelan, for Roberto Martinez! You just cannot write scripts like this!
Worried we're going to get claimed by ESPN. Kevin Harlan.
You just spoke about TNT. Kevin Harlan's on TNT, Lachie.
See, I don't know enough basketball.
This is well.
I need to stop making references.
Way, this is royalty-free music, Lachie. What do you think we are? You think we are? You think we use
I'm
music
expecting,
we use?
I don't know, Kenny the Jet Smith to start speaking now. Have some really strong opinion.
Like Mike Breen or something like that's going to yell bang. All right, Lachie. So unfortunately for those watching at home and listening, we haven't been able to get a hold of Wade Dekker, so it looks like we're not going to be able to get him on this week. We'll try to move him on for next week.
But we do have our own 6 degrees of separation person joining us to Wade Dekker, because we've got the next best thing. The man who played Churches Leagues against Wade Dekker, Josh Parish, who will join us shortly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Josh will be able to tell us all about our game of the round between Heidelberg and Melbourne Knights on Sunday down at the Olympic Village. Josh was one of 2 commentators that were down there on Sunday.
Well,
obviously,
no, one. He was supposed to be one of 2.
No. I'm not talking about FE. I'm talking about one of 2 streams.
Well, 3 commentators, because if you're not mentioning John Foddenos as well as Greg Blake.
Play-by-plays. I mean, we've got
to feature them all.
All right, so he was one of 3 commentators, but one of 2 commentators. Wherever, if you weren't there, you caught it on NPL.tv, or if you caught it on HUFC TV, with Greg Blake. I'm sure that was either way, however you caught it. It was certainly an entertaining game nonetheless.
Anyway, though, before we do that, we've got 2 more NPL Victoria men's games to whip through.
I was just getting someone, Lachie.
Where should we start? Because we had 2 Saturday 7 p.m s. Hume City 1, South Melbourne 3, probably the easiest place to start.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, we just came out of Eastern Lions Dandy City. We may as well just go to Hume versus South Melbourne, because that game had permutations at both ends of the table.
It did. South Melbourne keeping themselves nice and comfortable.
Quite a comfortable win. 3 goals in the first half. Easy as you like. Marcus Schrone, though, oh my goodness, what a goal.
Yeah, well, doing it against his old club, always good to see. My favourite thing about his goal,
He took it off the feet of
This is
Alan
the
Webb.
way he stole it off Alan Webb. Like, Alan Webb took this great first touch to set himself for a right-footed shot. Maybe might have even had the chance to go onto his left, set someone up. But off he marched. In fact, he didn't even get the chance to march off. Marcus Schroen just saw the ball laid down to him perfectly, and he thought, oh, thanks very much, Webby. I'll smack that one off you. And he did. He scored a ripping goal. And it was funny to watch that South Melbourne put out some, like, secondary camera footage from behind the goals that showed Alan Webb as the goal went in. And he was celebrating a bit, but, like, not as much as you might expect, and I can kind of understand that. But yeah, look, South Melbourne maybe could have had a few more goals in this game, but a good result for them. It keeps them top. I mean, Hume lose. Yes, they're back in the relegation zone, but I don't think it's the end of the world for them. I mean, they've played two very solid teams back to back, and I mean, at least against Avondale, ran them very, very close. But the reason I say it's not all doom and gloom for Hume is that was an accidental rhyme. Apologies to everyone who's watching or listening. I just took the liberty of looking through the runs home for both Hume and Dandy City. Hume City, the reason I'm not so nervous for them is because let's start with Dandy. Final games of the season. Dandy Derby this Saturday.
Yeah.
City then go on to play Oakley, Altona, Port Melbourne, Heidelberg, Avondale, South Melbourne, and Bentley Greens.
Mm-hmm.
So they're playing pretty much all the teams in the top end of the table. They're playing the top 8 teams with the exception of Thunder. The only team they're not playing in that list is Gully, who they already lost 4-1 to. So that is about as tough of a run home as you could hope to have, because even the easiest game there, which you would say is probably Altona Magic, they are still a really, really solid defensive team, super, super hard to break down. So that's a tough run home. Hume, on the other hand, Bentley Greens this weekend, not an ideal game, but if they approach it the right way, they can get a result because they have been more competitive. Knights, St Albans, Heidelberg, Green Gully, Eastern Lions, which is crucial, Dandy Thunder, and Oakley to end the season. I don't know. One of those seems a lot more straightforward of a run home than the other.
It seems like Hume City are playing Eastern Lions on their preferred deck, a.k.a. Gardeners Creek Reserve, because Eastern Lions have just not been able to get anything there. I think, as you mentioned, right now it's only 1 point separating Dandy City and Hume City. It's certainly one race to keep an eye on. I wouldn't say that it's definitely over by any stretch. We know that there is still 8 games to go, or sorry, but 8 games? Yeah, 8 games. I'm just trying to get my maths right for a second. But yes, 8 games left. A lot on the line there between those two teams. I get a feeling it's going to go right down to the wire between the two of them. I'm very curious to keep an eye on what signings come in for both teams.
Yeah, it does also depend on who comes in. I mean, Hume have already welcomed back a familiar face in Harry Monahan, so he comes into the defence. But Dandy City might be priming themselves for some even bigger levels than that.
Just on Dandy City, like bringing Steven Topalovic back is like a new signing.
It is. Arsene Wenger would definitely say if he was Dandy City manager that he is like a new signing.
Let's quickly race into Dandy Thunder versus Port Melbourne. Port Melbourne winning again 2-0. They're the real surprises of this season. They've always been thereabouts in the finals race, but they are really pushing this year in third. Best defence in the competition. Not necessarily the best attack, but they get the job done based off, working off that amazing defensive record they've got. They put the game away in the first half with goals from Ross Archibald and Jordan Courtney Perkins. Nonetheless, big win for them. Dandy Thunder in that mid-table purgatory at the moment. They're not like in the race for finals right now, but they're not in the hunt to get relegated. They're just sort of comfortable in the middle.
I think, unfortunately, we did have a good stretch where it was like from the top 4 down, really, really tight from like 4th down to 10th. We have sort of seen... the wheat from the chaff kind of separate a little bit. And so now we do have that 5-point gap between the Greens in 7th and then Altona in 8th. Yeah, unfortunately, I think Dandy Thunder's season, which just started with so much promise, has petered out a little bit. No doubt the injury to Florent Andalesio early on hampers things because he's the kind of guy that you build around. I'm pretty sure he's back in France now, actually recovering from the injury. So that doesn't help. But yeah, it just hasn't quite clicked, I think, for David Chick at Thunder. I don't know. It feels like there's I still really rate David Chick very highly. I still think maybe it's a longer term thing they can go on to build next season. But there's just a little bit of my read of the weather vane at George Andrews is there's a little bit of discontent. But look, the focus should be less about Thunder at the moment. It should be more about Port Melbourne, who
Sharkies
are putting together an excellent season. And it's funny because you say they haven't scored that many goals, and yes, it is true. I think they've scored the least amount of goals of any side in the top 6 this year, albeit by a margin of 2 behind Green Gully. But they're still a good side. Like, they're still a good side to watch. They play a nice brand of football. They could certainly score more goals than they have, and they did obviously go through quite a long period of the season, missing their star striker in Chris Duggan, who is now back. Did get an injury though. So he's touch and go for this weekend. But they're playing a really good brand of football. They're defending really well. Josh Wilkins has looked excellent. The people they brought in have really, really made this side quite strong. Luca Tafia has been really solid as well. And yeah, they scored a very pretty goal for their second, and they'll go into that game they've got this week against the Oakley Cannons full of confidence, and I reckon they fancy themselves for 3 points, and they'd be into second.
Yeah,
and who would have thought that at the start of the season?
Well, good segue, Lachie, because let's talk about Oakley. Obviously, we haven't got Wade tonight, the man who did score a hat-trick on that game. It seems like when he scores, he only scores in
he
bags.
literally does.
Only scores hat-tricks. His 3 goals were enough to get the 3 points against Altona Magic. Very weird seeing an Oakley game on a Saturday night, talking about difference in scheduling. Obviously, Friday night at St. Albans, Saturday night in Oakley. Another win for them right now, right in amongst it with South Melbourne, but right in the still not clear of Port Melbourne, as you mentioned. They needed the win because they hadn't won in their last 3 games. They'd lost at home against Heidelberg, the draw against Thunder, the draw against Eastern Lions. A very, very important win for them. And Wade Dekker just continuing his really solid form, some lovely taken goals. Their attack is still very much in full throttle right now. Defensively, you know, they've been a bit susceptible in the past few weeks, but much needed 3 points coming up against Altona side, who have, along with Eastern Lions, the worst attack in the competition this year. Only 14 goals. A good defence, but going forward, they're really lacking.
Yeah, unfortunately, none of the striking options that they've either brought in this season or midway through last year have clicked for them. Dimi Hatzmaratis hasn't really worked. Peter Skapetis, I think, has been a bit of a... What's the word for a transfer that doesn't go the right? A bust. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, well, you could have just said it, Lachie.
No, I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
It escaped my grasp. And Tommy Semi has been really promising, but he just can't finish. He's got all the other attributes, but it's just the final touch that's letting him down, unfortunately. But he is a good player. I think he can still show something, but yeah, that's been a big issue for them. But yeah, Wade Dekker, he has scored 14 goals for the campaign, outright lead at the moment. He scored 10 of them in 3 games.
Incredible.
3 hat-tricks and one of them a 4-goal haul against Avondale. It's just, it is a quite ridiculous
they come
season
in waves,
he is
don't
having.
They come in waves. Lachie, we've got to continue rushing through these games. So let's get to our game of the round. It was Sunday afternoon at Olympic Village. 2 old rivals going head-to-head. Heidelberg United 3, Melbourne Knights 2. The man who was all over it on Sunday afternoon, he was supposed to be joined by Craig Filer on Sunday. We're not forgetting about that. Josh Parish, welcome back to FNR. Great to have you on board today. A really, really fun contest on Sunday afternoon.
I can't believe you gents have just outed Craig Filer after he's been watching the stream. I've seen his comments popping up. That's absolutely brutal. No, Craig was gutted to miss it, I'm sure, because it was such a splendid game. I had the solo call, of course, Blakey and Jay Fott on the Heidelberg stream to keep me company. They were absolutely wrapped with Heidelberg's performance, and so they should be, because that was the best I've seen Heidelberg play all season, especially in the first half. They were really dynamic, and yeah, it was a fabulous game. Really, really end to end. Great watch on a Sunday arvo.
What were your thoughts, I guess, on that first half, Josh? I mean, they surged out of the blocks. Kane Shepherd, Adrian Zara, Sean Ellis, really putting them, on the front foot early. I guess, what were some of those things that you really liked from Heidelberg in this game? Was it mainly what they were doing going forward?
Yes, I think they've occasionally been a slog to watch this season, even when they've been competitive, because They rely a lot on set pieces and just the endless barrage of long throws, which has worked for South Melbourne, but I think it's been a mixed bag for Heidelberg this season. Ruben Way wasn't in the starting 11 this week. He's their usual long throw specialist, and they only attempted one. I think they tried to do a bit more in open play, and I think it worked for them. The other big factor for them is the return of Sean Ellis to full fitness. Clearly his body was not right to begin the year, and he was in and out of the starting lineup. So, he's their playmaker, their technical wizard, but also Josh Pinn starting to find his form. He might be the fastest player in the league. He's taken a little while to settle, but his speed was absolutely unbelievable, breaking the line, getting in behind Knight's defence in every transition opportunity. Every time Steve Bebich's side tried to step up and play a higher line, Josh Pinn was just outpacing them, and he got in behind twice for 2 assists in the first half and just looked a genuine menace. So, positive signs for Heidelberg, to be sure. I also think, and it's not Luka Ninkovic's fault, his mere presence on the field seems to tempt his teammates into more long balls. But the fact that he was on the bench meant their only obvious target man up front was Kane Shepherd, who we know likes to drop a lot deeper, play with his back to goal, pick up the ball in deeper areas and combine, rather than stand and contest with the centre-backs. And that led them to keeping the ball on the deck a lot more often. So they were much better to watch. The intensity and speed that they played with, especially on the counter-attack, was fabulous.
Well, if you are watching via the Facebook Live or Twitter or Twitch or wherever it is you may be coming through, make sure you keep your comments coming through. If you've got any questions for Josh as well, feel free to let us know. Craig Filer, I just want to touch back on him because we've already put our first nose out of joint here. 4 minutes ago, Sharks are my dark horses. Adam Pittock has got a very decent young squad who play decent football. 2 minutes ago, that's it, I am out. So sorry, Craig, I hope you're still there. We hope to chat to you on this program.
Apologies, Craig.
Sometime in the future. Also, Fijian footballers overseas saying that he has some rumours that Joe Knowles has been contacted by Pacific clubs. So
wow.
that is very, very interesting.
The Pacific counts as in maybe New Zealand clubs? Maybe we're looking at...
I don't know. That's maybe one to ask Fijian footballers overseas. Yeah. But anyway, I want to get back to another player who has been... electric in the last few weeks, not just Joe Knowles, but Josh Pinn, the J Pinn. Josh. You mentioned him there. It's just so interesting because he took quite a while to sort of kick into gear, having come down, I think, from Queensland.
Yeah.
But he gets his first goal against Bentley 3 weeks ago, and then out of nowhere scores against Oakley, assist as well for Kane Shepherd, and then 2 assists as well in this game. I mean, he has made such a big difference. And you've gone from, at the start of the year, having a bit of difficulty, Kane Shepherd sort of having to do it all himself. Now you've got a front three of Ellis, Shepherd and the J-Pin. That is very, very exciting. And they've really clicked into great form to see out the year. I mean, can you see them, they've gotten into the 6 now. Can you see them pressing even higher than that potentially?
I think they will be a potential spoiler in the finals. Let me put it that way. I mean, a lot of it depends on the fitness of their key players. Ivan Franic went off late with what looked like a hamstring injury, and I don't think they have an obvious replacement for him at right back in the squad, not someone who does the same things that Ivan Franic does. And he takes a lot of the corners and set pieces for them, Franic. So, I mean, we all know former Socceroo, he's going to be a big loss. I think him shifting back to his natural position at right back, as opposed to starting in midfield, has been a big factor for them because he provides, a lot of good width on that side, and he's just more comfortable there. But yeah, having that dynamic front three with Shepherd dropping deep and then Pinn getting in behind, Ellis being the playmaker on the ball, I think that's a fabulous balance that they've struck now. So, the number one rule of NPL Victoria is never count out George Katsakis' sides. And they might be hitting form at the right time. Whether they'll be an actual title contender, I'm not sure. But in the finals, I wouldn't necessarily want to play them, not if they're playing like this.
I mean, they've beaten in this sort of run that they've gotten into now. They have beaten Oakley and South Melbourne.
Yeah. I mean, Josh, just about Melbourne Knights. I mean, they've had I think it's been a very disappointing few seasons for Melbourne Knights in terms of where they would hope to be with the stature of the club that they are. Another loss, 2 losses in a row off the back of beating South Melbourne a few weeks ago where, it looked like a bit of green shoots for them. What did you take out of their performance? Because, I mean, they still scored twice. They showed enough fight to get back into the game, but defensively, again, they've brought themselves undone.
Yeah, I think you said it there, Nick. They've been very open at the back, especially in this match. I spoke to a couple of the Knights guys afterwards, and it was sort of the same old story. We play well, we lose. We play badly, we lose. It doesn't seem to matter. And they actually played some really good football against Heidelberg, believe it or not. You know, they were completely outplayed in, I guess, the last 25 minutes of the first half, and basically dug themselves a hole. But then in the second half, they lifted considerably. They got themselves back into the game. Luka Celic, trying to get my Croatian C's pronounced correctly on that one. I think he's a fabulous footballer, very laconic in style, and maybe doesn't necessarily suit the hustle and bustle of NPL Victoria, but classy player for sure. I like George Ott, who they've brought in recently, the Kiwi striker. He didn't have much in this game, didn't get much of a sniff, but you could just tell that he's got pedigree. Every time he got near the ball, he looked sharp, and he's good in the air, very quick. He's got all the tools. But I think they're lacking in midfield. Anthony Jouzel's inconsistency and, you know, in and out with injuries over the last couple of years has been a big factor. I don't think Thierry Iridakunda has kicked on in the way that you'd hope, especially on the ball. He's always been a great tackler, but what he does when he gets the ball is the issue sometimes. And Jouzel, you know, he was a tale of two halves for him, because he was absolutely anonymous in the first half, did not impact the game whatsoever, and Melbourne Knights were completely outplayed. He got on the ball loads in the second half and played a beautiful through ball in the lead up for Trevor Semikula to square it across for Knight's second goal. It was an absolutely beautiful eye of the needle pass, and was much better in the second 45, and the Knights looked rejuvenated. So, you know, he's kind of a bellwether for them sometimes. I think there's little fit issues all over the park. There's signings that haven't worked out. Anthony Frangi and Fuki Ishibashi, I believe, have departed the club. So two big misses on those two signings. Everyone thought Frangi was going to tear up the league, and it just, you know, he hasn't settled. So, yeah, lots to think about for Steve Bebic, but how much patience the club has with him, because he's had a while in charge now, is a big question.
Josh, before we let you go, let's go to NPL 3. Obviously, you know, you're still well and truly entangled with Preston Lions. Great job, the both of you, at the Preston Lions Gala night on Saturday
We're both still
night.
recovering as well.
Josh, a big win for Preston on the weekends. I believe they're still second. They jumped
into second,
because I wasn't sure if that was early in the weekend. But a 1-0 win over Geelong on the weekend. I mean, good signs for them at least that they're right in the mix for promotion this year. But I guess just holistically, how have you seen NPL 3 this season?
Oh, it's so tight at the top. I don't blame you for not knowing where Preston were on the ladder, because there's only a few points separating the top four teams. Melbourne City have created a little bit of a gap this week. But, you know, before that, it was only 4 points separating the top four. Preston have vaulted Western United and now victory on goal difference to sit in second place. Melbourne City do look like the most consistent team in the league, but it's so tight. Anything could really happen. And Preston have this bank of home games to play out the season, which is their big advantage, their ace in the hole, if you will. Because what happened was, if people aren't aware, that they had their pitch resurfaced in the offseason. They weren't sure if it was going to be ready for the first half of the year. So in order to minimise the amount of games they would have to play at neutral venues, they backloaded their fixture with home games. It ended up being fine, and they ended up playing a home game in round 3 against Geelong, funnily enough. But that means that the schedule is heavily at home, and for Preston that matters more than almost any other side, because their home pitch is more different to any other team, NPL 3's team's home pitch. Like there's a huge difference week to week playing on that massive pristine deck at BT Connor versus going away to grounds like Doveton, where it's a lot tighter and a lot bumpier, and the style of football is completely different. And the conditions really played a big part on Friday night against Geelong. It was very boggy. It was very tight. Geelong put up a hell of a fight, and it was an extremely scrappy game. But to keep the clean sheet, to come away with a 1-0 win, they'll be very happy with that. But yeah, it's Preston versus the 3 A-League youth teams for promotion contention.
Well, speaking of those 3 three A-League youth teams, Josh. Obviously, you haven't just had a chance to watch a lot of NPL 3, but also specifically of the academy sides. And we did have a question come through pre-show from Oz Football Stats, who asks, with the three A-League academies near the top of the table in the NPL 3, which players have caught your eye as potential first teamers for next season? Now, I'm going to steal in ahead of you and suggest one from Melbourne Victory that I know you're going to say, who is Will Wilson. He's been brilliant in all of the games I've seen him play this season. And Oscar Rutherford, who's watching on producing for us, might also have a bit to say about Will Wilson. But from your perspective, Josh, from the academy sides, who stands out as players that could make the leap?
Well, it's funny. I mean, the games where I've seen Victory play, I've been hugely impressed with Aaron Anderson, but he's just had his contract not renewed. He's going to be leaving. So that surprised me, to be honest. I mean, he's at that age where he can no longer be on a youth deal. But, he's also a central defender, and it's harder to break through as a young central defender when you're 21. So, he might get left behind, unfortunately, but I think he's played really well this season.
I feel like NPL sides should be queuing up for him, I think.
Yeah, well,
if not another A-League side, to be honest.
We thought the same about Matt Bozanowski, and he's still on contract, but he went on loan to Wellington and barely played. It's just tough for young defenders. In terms of the other teams, well, actually, in terms of Victory, I mean, Leighton Brooks is just an absolute star every time he plays. I don't think that's news because he's had A-League appearances, but I think he should be involved with the first team squad far more often than he is personally. I just think he's got star potential. In terms of the other two youth academy sides, I haven't seen as much of Melbourne City as I would like, but just on sheer statistics alone, I mean, Arian Suleimani is the top scorer in the competition, 11 goals in 13 games. It's an exceptional return for his first season, I think, really with the reserve side in NPL 3. And Max Caputo hasn't played as many games, but 5 in 7 is a really good goal return for a young striker who, is very highly rated there. I think he's had a red card and some injury problems and so forth. Then on the Western United side of things, I think we've got one obvious guy, and that's the striker in Jake Nadovsky, who we spoke to on the green room earlier this season and reckoned he was going to get 20 goals. Well, he's got 9 in 14. That's not a bad return. He's not actually as far off the pace as we thought he might be with that ambitious goal. But the other player I really like from the Western United youth side is Sabit James, or Sabit Noor, depending on how his name is written out on the team sheet week to week. But he's very skillful attacking midfield winger, can play in a variety of different positions, has great balance and technique, and is just exciting to watch. So, there's a few guys floating around. I'm sure you'll see them pop up on A-League benches next season. Melbourne City, I think their dominance in the league is down more to their overall strength and depth rather than due to a number of individuals. But there's still a couple of names from each side that really pop out at you.
Well, Josh, thank you so much for joining us here on the inaugural edition of the NPL Victoria Pod here on FNR Football Nation Radio. Great to have you back in, by the way, obviously via Zoom. But hopefully we can get you in again sometime very, very soon. And we'll chat more about, I guess, all the going on with NPL, and hopefully this time as well, we get you joined with Craig as well. Maybe give Craig a chance to respond. So we don't.
I just want Craig Filer to know I've had nothing to do with the drive-by.
This is not a drive-by. This is me giving Craig a platform to respond. So no, this is not a drive-by at all. But Josh, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Always a pleasure.
Josh Parish joining us on the show to chat about the game of the round between Heidelberg and Melbourne Knights, but also cast his eye to NPL 3. We're almost running out of time, so what we're going to do is we're going to zoom through this last little bit now. We're going to actually bring Oscar Rutherford in to chat a little bit about Melbourne Victory. Oscar, obviously you've been keeping a very keen eye on Melbourne Victory's youth side over the past couple months, and Josh mentioned William Wilson, which was, I guess, one of the names everyone's going to be talking about because he just signed his professional contract, and Leighton Brooks has been one of them. But what about some of the lesser likes? Because, I mean, everyone could talk about the players who've already seen at A-League level, but there are a few players that are really putting their best foot forward, at least, that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, 100%. Let me just say first and foremost, I'm glad that the way of getting me involved in this show was to do it in a manner where my face isn't visible, which I
Well, you can
respect.
come in.
No.
This is Lockie's decision.
I'm saying that
Oh, it's not my decision at all. I just put a microphone out there for you. You can come in and use one of the ones in here if you like.
No. I think it's for the benefit of the show, so I'm not criticising that.
Wow. We didn't
Drive
say
by
that.
on yourself.
I support your decisions and your choices. Yeah, but to respond to your question, Nick, yeah, I have been keeping a fairly close eye on the Victory NPL team. Obviously, as you say, Josh, there are players who have played at the A-League men's level who we know and that we're familiar with, the likes of Leighton Brooks and, of course, you mentioned Will Wilson we've been talking about. If we're looking a bit deeper than that, digging a bit deeper into the team, I've been a big fan for quite a while of Jackson Leno in particular. He's, of course, joined the academy. His brother Franco is also there and he's been impressing. And so we've seen on quite a number of occasions Jackson and Franco play alongside each other and they look really composed and really impressive on the ball. Beyond that, I mean, I should mention Luca Peugeot as well because we haven't mentioned his name. He's obviously, we know what he can do and the quality he possesses. The one other name I'd throw in there would be Adjem Juradovic, who has been on a bit of a scoring streak in recent weeks. I think he actually rather fits the A-League men's mould in lots of ways. He kind of reminds me of Nick D'Agostino in the way that he is a fairly direct, straightforward striker who scores goals in a straightforward fashion. So I think he's one to keep an eye on, and he's in some good form at the moment. Scored Victory's goal on the weekend at Box Hill. So there are lots of players kind of floating in and out of the side, and of course you get the more senior players who might be unavailable for certain periods of time, like at the moment, the likes of Leighton Brooks and Nishan Valupale and Jay Barnett aren't available for the team. So that's a really exciting opportunity to see some of the kind of the crop underneath those sets of players, and so we're getting to see more and more of them. I'll shout out one more being Ryan Lethlean. He's a ginormous man, and
He is.
He's
I can back that up.
huge.
he is a large individual, and you know he is consistently reliable at the back, and obviously deals with set pieces and everything. But he's I think another one who I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him get some time perhaps in the A-League men's in the next season or two.
Well, Oscar, obviously the game live streamed here on FNR this Saturday. I'll be heading down to Epping, hanging out down there with Oscar. Oscar, before we let you go, just predictions for that game. Do you see Victory continuing their solid run of form, getting back on the winning list after the draw against Box Hill, against the team who has struggled this year in Springvale? Obviously, being at home, a good opportunity for them to at least keep the pace with the top two.
Yeah, look, and I mean, I did just allude to the fact that there are a lot of players who we've seen relatively consistently this season who weren't available, for example, against Box Hill. So we're getting to see some newer players, the likes of Simopoulos, James Sechrist in the goal, Paddy Hogan at right back. So there aren't new faces in this Victory team. There's just a constant rotation, which is really exciting. I would expect Victory to come back and pull out another win this weekend. The Box Hill game was really tough, and Box Hill made things really difficult, and full credit to Box Hill and the way they went about things. Stewie Edgar in particular was a constant threat. So, but I think Springvale, a team who I was looking at, I don't think they've kept a clean sheet yet this season. So I would expect Victory to bounce back and put another win on the table and keep pace. I think they're currently 4 points behind Melbourne City, so I imagine that title race or that promotion race will remain tight.
Well, keep your eye on the FNR socials on Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. at Epping Stadium. Going to be a massive contest for Victory and also for Springvale. But Oscar, again, thank you. We'll get you on board again every week. Don't you worry. You're going to be coming in here. We're going to get your face on the screen. Don't let this guy bully you. Don't let this guy bully you. Well, Lachie, you're going to throw me under the bus. I'm going to throw you under the bus as well. But anyways, Lachie, let's take a look at NPL Women's.
Yes.
Pakua Frimpong is joining us, or what?
I think we might have some audio of Pakua giving a post-match report. But while I let you search around for that, I'll go through the rest of the NPL women's results. Obviously, as we mentioned, Bulleen getting the 3-0 win over Alamein. Calder United 7-1 over Bayside United. But interestingly, in this game, obviously Calder dominated, they won, but they were down. They were a goal down after the 7th minute.
Yeah.
Julia Budiongo catching the Calder defence out in transition, which, if it sounds insane, it's because it is. Because Calder have gone the last, I think, 7 games 7 games without conceding a single goal. They've kept 7 straight clean sheets. They've conceded only before this game 3 goals for the whole year. And then Bayside United, the last place team in the NPLW, are the one to break that streak. And it was Julia Budiongo, as I mentioned, who got the goal. Meanwhile, FE emerging with a slightly surprising 1-0 win over Box Hills. Ellie Vlamink scoring a corner scrap to get FE emerging a nice little win that puts them back up in they're into the top 4 now. They've leapfrogged Alamein, so they're well and truly in the conversation for a final spot, which I think, even a month and a half ago, not many people would have given them a sniff of doing that. And the other game, of course, was Heidelberg United up against South Melbourne. We might have a chance to maybe bring Oscar back in because he, of course, did this game out at Olympic Village.
You're
Oscar,
back.
Heidelberg 3, South Melbourne 1. Give us your thoughts on that performance.
Yes, you couldn't go long without me. Fair enough. No, this was actually a really, really fun game at Olympic Village. Of course, had Josh talking about being there on the Sunday. This game was on the Saturday afternoon between, of course, 2 traditional rivals in Heidelberg and South Melbourne, and they really put out a fantastic show. I think I was particularly impressed with South Melbourne because obviously they started the season quite poorly and have struggled in the early phases, not kind of meeting the expectations that we'd perhaps set for them. But they're looking like a much improved side. They've been putting together a more decent run of form over the last month or so. And they were arguably the better team for the first half and were somewhat unlucky to go into the break 1-0 down thanks to a Steph Galea header. So I think South Melbourne deserve credit and Sam Young deserves credit for the way that they look like they're starting to pick up their form a bit. And of course, the nature of this competition with only 8 teams, South Melbourne are still well and truly in the finals race if they can put together a decent run over the next month or so, or the next couple of months. But of course, Heidelberg with the team who got the win, Jono Clemente's side, continue strolling through. Strolling's a bit harsh, but they continue to impress. The difference between the Heidelberg that we saw last season or in seasons gone by and the Heidelberg this season, I think, is stark. Steph Galea leading the way, the captain, consistently being, offering a really impressive leadership role. Eve Tiktakakis is the player I want to shout out. She's a really young fullback, and she's earned her spot in the starting 11 and does regularly impress. And she had a really tough task this weekend against Jana Lawson and won some battles, lost others, but she's a really exciting player. But of course, Danielle Wise made the difference in this game. She scored a couple of late goals, a couple of heartbreakers, if you will, for South Melbourne. But that's the nature of this Heidelberg team under Jono Clemente. They have fight, they have spirit, they have resilience, and they come back even when they're coming up against really tough opposition, as they were in South Melbourne on Saturday.
Oops, sorry, my audio got cut out for just a second. Well, thank you again, Oscar, for that one. Forgot to turn my button on that occasion. But Oscar, thank you again. And again, we'll get you in studio next week. Don't let Lachie bully you. But we're going to now cross over to Pakua Frimpong, who was at the Alamein versus Bulleen game on the weekend, to get her thoughts on the contest.
Looking back on this week's NPL fixture between Alamein FC and Bulleen FC, a really exciting game between both teams, but kind of deceiving if you were just to look at the end score result. With Bulleen coming out 3-0 victors, they were probably lucky to get away with that 3-0 victory because Alamein had some really good moments and were probably unlucky not to score early in that second half. But looking back on that first half, it was really uneven from both teams. Both teams really struggled early on to gain any real sort of possession, but the first team to do so was Bulleen, and when they did get that possession, they scored with a really excellent Yankevsky goal, and that kind of led her onto a quality game with scoring 2 goals and kind of putting Bulleen over the line. Every time she seemed to get on the ball, it was just real pressure for that Alamein defence. They really struggled to just keep her under control and, stop her from feeding the ball into Leah Privatelli. But for Alamein, it was a really unlucky game because they were only 1-0 down at half-time, and heading into at the start of that second half, they were good. They were really dominant, and they had a lot of possession. They had the momentum, but they struggled to consolidate. And a player that kind of embodied that was Privatelli, who found herself in some really dangerous territory, but every time just seemed to find herself offside. And had she probably stayed onside a little bit more, I think Alamein would have, had they scored early in that second half. We would have been in for a really exciting last 20 minutes. The defence of Alamein were relatively good throughout the entire game. They didn't give away too many clear-cut chances for Boleyn, but they had really 3 key errors, and that led to those really easy goals for Boleyn. Looking at the Boleyn side, Leah Privatelli, excellent player, and she showed yet again why she's a cut above the rest in this competition. She was really lively, getting her midfielders and her fellow attackers into the play, but just quality upon quality upon quality from her, and she finally got that goal that she deserved, and once she scored that, it was relatively comfortable for them. Another standout player for Boleyn was Taylor Vlanich, who just kind of was everywhere all at once, and she was really dominant in that first half and seemed to be the source of all the attacking momentum for Boleyn, and I think that was what set them apart in that first half. They just had a player who was just willing to drive and just kind of knew what to do all the time. For both sides, they probably look at this game and think, Boleyn probably will think this was a really good game for us. It was a tough opponent, 3-0 victory, excellent. For Alamein, they probably look back and say, if we just had kept our composure in certain moments, we probably would have got a point out of this game or even taken the 3 points. But an interesting game nonetheless, and I'm very excited to see how these teams progress in the rest of the competition.
Well, that was Pakua Frimpong joining us to tell us a little bit about the Alamein versus Boleyn game.
That was Pakua's talkback, and we will get the talkback lines open on this show in future weeks.
So you'll be able to call in on 99449999, but we'll make sure we get that one sorted out. Lachie, we're almost out of time here. Quickly on to NPL 2. Incredible weekend of action. The title race and the promotion race has been just flat out bonkers. We did the Boleyn versus Moreland Zebras game on Monday night. Boleyn 3, Moreland Zebras 2. Or not Moreland Zebras, sorry, anymore.
Brunswick Juventus, please.
What an incredible contest. Boleyn, when it looked like it was going to be a 2-2 draw.
Well, it just looked like it wasn't going to be a very good game.
Yeah,
And then the halftime whistle happened. Jay Kelly scored 5 minutes into the second half.
And then Max Batchelor
got them back ahead.
Fraser Chalmers spilt the beans.
It was a rainy day, so both keepers were having a big trouble dealing with balls, particularly like a mid-range. They kept spilling into the turf. And I think that really made the difference on the day. Like Wansuk Choi for Boleyn came up with some excellent saves.
Well, as you called it, decent
saves, where Fraser Chalmers just simply wasn't able to.
Yeah.
And then obviously Jay Kelly got the equaliser for 2-2. And right from kickoff, literally from kickoff, and this is not an exaggeration, Boleyn took the ball in the opposite direction. Samuel McCall was the man who made the run forward, and then Ben Everson eventually the player to provide the finish. It was absolutely ridiculous, and in many ways it was just the NPL 2.
Yeah.
The NPL 2 is just like that, and now Boleyn leapfrog Brunswick Juventus and Pascoe Vale into third place. Obviously only 1 point between Paco and Boleyn, and 3 points behind Moreland. And North Geelong are now in the frame as well after 2 back-to-back games where they've dropped points. A loss to Brunswick and a draw late on in stoppage time with Lachie as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Moreland City winning back-to-back games at home after that 8-0 drubbing on the road.
And they left it
Boleyn.
late against Northcote City.
They did. And as well, Pascoe Vale defeating GV Suns as well on Saturday. So it shapes up for a massive weekend there. Lachie, we've got to say goodbye here, though, because we've actually got Paco Radio starting right on the other side of this big show plan there. So really looking forward to chatting to the guys about what's been happening at the club.
Yes,
in the last
absolutely.
week or so.
You'll get a chance to hear more NPL 2. And before we go, we did tease it at the start of the show, so I'm going to close it out. In case you haven't seen it, Avondale have announced their big signing, and it was not Giancarlo Galafuoco, you idiot, Lachie. Golgol Mabratu.
So that was the GG.
I should have seen that coming. Look, as someone who is a big fan of Golgol Mabratu, very excited to see that. Not sure how it works for Avondale, another forward coming into the rotation. I don't really know, but it's interesting, and we'll get to talk about it when maybe he plays his first game this weekend. next week.
And may I add, this is another player to add to your collection of
I have to
players
go off
you
to
got to
Twitter. All right, we're going to end the show now because I got to go to
All
Twitter.
right. Well, anyways,
There's
no,
an
we're not
edit
just
to be
going to
made.
go because of that. 'Cause we've got another show literally just
Yes.
about to start. But we'll be back again next week. Head over to our podcast platforms for all the show. But thank you for everyone who listened, got involved. Thank you to Oscar Rutherford. Thank you to Bakul Frimpong. Thank you to Josh Parish as well. And hopefully, we'll be able to get Wade Dekker on next week as well. But from myself, Nick Tabana, and Lachie Flannigan, it's goodbye for now.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website dkpco.com.au or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Since 1998, Lanco Group has been providing superior civil engineering solutions and advice to developers, local government and service authorities across Australia. Lanco Group is known for delivering sustainable, efficient solutions. By working closely with clients, Lanco Group is able to meet the complex infrastructure requirements for residential, commercial and industrial developments on time, on budget. Find out more at lancogroup.com.au. Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions.
Ronaldinho gathers speed past Ramos. Elguera comes to meet him. He goes past Elguera. Oh! Ronaldinho at his very best. Unstoppable.
You're listening to FNR, Football Nation Radio.
You're listening to Paco Radio, brought to you by Senol on FNR, Football Nation Radio.